So there's something built inside of you that's never wrong. And I talk to people every day about this, and not too many of them know what it is. And I know you know what it is because we talked a bit about it. It's your intuition. So why is it when we get this gut feeling and it feels right, but we don't take any action? Because what happens is we take it to our head to figure it out. Then in the head, in the conscious mind, is all the self-doubt, all the limitations. That's where they live. So now we have this battle that starts between what the heart's saying, what the intuition is saying, and what the head's saying. In that, we don't take any action. Then we get paralysis because now all this information comes in. Now there's confusion sets in. Right?
Welcome, fellow entrepreneurs and goal-getters, to Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within, with myself, your host, Kelley Beveridge, and my special guest today, Paul Sahota. And if you enjoyed this episode, just a friendly reminder to go and leave a comment. You can leave a review and download this episode. And so I'm really excited to have Paul on today. He's been a mentor of mine for many years, and he's somebody who I respect because he has the courage to tell you his truth, to support yourself in the direction of your life. And today we're going to be talking about that, about how to trust your inner self, and that we have all of our answers within. And Paul is a life coach. He's known as Coach Paul to many in the community that I'm a part of. He is a certified Silva instructor for Canada. And one of his biggest blessings that he'll probably weave throughout our conversation today is that he's married, he's a father of two, and he's a proud grandpa of two grandbabies as well. And so, Paul, I'm so grateful that you're on my podcast. It's like a full circle moment. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome, Kelley. It's a long time coming. I tell you, I just got goosebumps. It's there. The chill of, we go back probably at least 20 years. If
and
not more.
Right before I had done any personal development, and you took me under your wing, and through your guidance, I stepped into my leadership. So very grateful for you.
Oh, you know what? It's like a flower, right? It just blossoms more and once the nurturing and nature. I look at it. Nature teaches us everything. You look around us, right? There's so much abundance out there in nature. It's like a little granddaughter. We went for a walk yesterday, and she wants to collect mushrooms. She goes, "Papa, when you see a mushroom, take a picture." And they do mushroom prints when they put it on a piece of paper with a thing over it. And the pores of the mushroom makes a little pattern on the paper. They look phenomenal, just phenomenal. She goes, "Papa, they're everywhere." I says, "Honey, there's so much abundance. That's what your life is about." Right? But sometimes we don't see it because we're in our own stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you and I were chatting, you're learning so much through having your grandkid in your house, which is so cool. And you're just getting to teach them all these lessons at such a young age, which I love.
You know what? I look at it when growing up stuff, I was an entrepreneur, but my biggest thing was I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted something different. And the part of that for me was sometimes we were never taught how to make decisions. You remember ever going to decision-making 101?
Yeah, never.
We learned it from our parents. So you were born with something. Even as an entrepreneur, what are you looking for? You want to develop that inner sense. It's the right thing to do. Is how you can make better decisions. How do you understand people better? Because you're doing businesses, you're doing this. Nothing works unless you have somebody else working with you. So you got to have this relationship. How do I become more service to the people? And so how do we make decisions? So there's something built inside of you that's never wrong. And I talk to people every day about this, and not too many of them know what it is. And I know you know what it is because we talked a bit about it. It's your intuition. So why is it when we get this gut feeling, right, and it feels right, but we don't take any action? Because what happens is we take it to our head to figure it out. Right? Then in the head, in the conscious mind, is all the self-doubt, all the limitations. That's where they live. So now we have this battle that starts between what the heart's saying, what the intuition is saying, and what the head's saying. In that, we don't take any action. Then we get paralysis because now all this information comes in. Now there's confusion sets in, right? Like my mentor said one day, make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Because if we make them quickly, they come from a deeper place. That's the intuitive side of you. The more we can do that, the better it
Yeah,
becomes.
I love that. And Paul, like you're
Well,
talking about making decisions and you brought up like the big old question, what do you want? And I know that's a broad question. Yeah. While we're talking about this, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, how does somebody even start the process of truly trusting themselves enough to know that what they're deciding, what they want is their truth and not someone else?
you know what? That also starts with the depth of the questions you ask
Mhm.
yourself. What do I want? Or why do I do what I do? Because at the end of the day, the depth of the questions you ask yourself will make you who you want to
Mhm.
become, right? Because sometimes we do these things, a lot of the things we do is on automatic, right? There's a study done in the late 60s, early 70s, and when they studied children, what they found was from conception to 5 years old, 50% was hardwired. And that blew me away. When I started personal development class when I was in my
Mhm.
30s, and I realized first thing when I heard that I've screwed up my kids, because what do we learn from 0 to 5?
Uh,
What
Things like, no, don't do that. Don't take risks. Be careful. And then, of course, things like walking and talking and all of that.
here? But who do we spend most of that time with is usually our
Yeah.
parents, right? Maybe if you have a babysitter or a nanny, also our environment. Okay. So here's the thing, that 50% wasn't your
Mhm.
choice, right? Fast forward a bit, and then we go to school from 5 to 8, another 30% gets put in. So 80% is hardwired till we're 8 years old. So how are you going to live your life? How much money you want to make? How you do relationship? How you see other people? How you see yourself? So now when push comes to shove, our automatics are usually done when we're 8 years old, because in that means we're not present. The gift of this whole journey on this, our existence here, is how to be present in every second,
Mhm.
right? And to know what you weren't, right? If we're running on automatic, it's not our choice. I tell people every day, just sit down, find a nice, comfortable place that you can go back to every day, sit in this chair of yours and ask yourself, what do I want? Okay. So if you actually think for yourself, even 5 minutes today, you'll be in the top 5% of the people on this planet,
Wow.
because people don't think for themselves. I mean, look around you. How many actually people think for themselves? People are like, they'll follow the crowd because that's what's comfortable. Why? Because we don't want to stand out. We don't want to cause waves. If the crowd's going this way, my tendency to go this way.
Mhm. So, Paul, as you're
Right.
sharing that, because it's such great advice, and even just taking 5 minutes a day to sit and ask that question, what do I want? What do I want? How do we differentiate between trusting the inner voice that what comes up is what we want versus that what we learned, what you just talked about, right? Versus our childhood, versus what we think we should want, versus outside circumstances, outside values of other people. Like, how do we actually trust the answer is ours?
And that's a brilliant question, because the first couple ones you have when you sit there, it'll be from your conscious
Mhm.
mind. You want to drop deeper into your subconscious mind, because your conscious mind is what outside influences are caused by. Okay. Also, your conscious mind it's impersonal. It's also male energy, right? But only your conscious mind can accept and reject. But once it gets your subconscious mind, I always tell people that's the genie. There's no time, there's no space, there's no challenges. It's perfection there. So if you can, that's why I want you to, when you go down, take a couple of breaths, go deeper, you're going to leave your conscious, go into your subconscious mind. That's when the truth comes out,
Mm.
right? And if you practice on a daily basis, the first couple one might be from your conscious mind, then they'll get deeper and deeper. But then you realize, wow, this is actually pretty cool. It's a lot bigger than I thought it could
Yeah.
be. And the more you do this, because all of a sudden you'll have this sensation that rises from you. You'll know when it's your head, because it's just like
Mhm.
this. When you know it's a bigger calling, it's a deeper beingness that you want to hang your hat on. And the coolest part is you're at peace with it,
Is that how you know
right?
it's the right decision? Like when you feel that?
You'll know, yeah, when you feel that inner peace, what's
Mm.
right. because nothing to do out here. It comes from here. Because even our school systems are backwards on how we do this, right? Even we're never taught how to do this. So I had a bunch of teachers in the class were having this conversation. I said, so tell me I'm wrong, but this is our school system. So even when we're born, we go to mom and dad for answers, right? And then kindergarten, we go to the teacher for answers. Then we start going to church, we go to the priest for answers. Then we go to junior high, university, colleges, you go to professor. We go all through life, we go through answers, right? And then all of a sudden they go, you're educated. But what did they educate us on? They've never taught us how to make decisions. What they told us was, so the mark I'll get, okay, is what I can regurgitate back to them to what they told me. So they taught me memory skills, right? So when it goes to memory skills, so I'd rather go back into finding out what's the right thing. So it's simple as this, okay? What's your dream car?
Oh gosh, you're asking me about dream cars. I don't even know. I'm going to say the newest BMW Black.
Okay. So you're driving down this 700 series down the road in your BMW. All of a sudden it starts sputtering and coughing and it just clunks, dies beside the road. Okay. So when you see us and you go, oh, I'm in luck. There's a sign there. It says, I fix everything. So do you take it back to the source where you bought the car? Or do you take the guy that fixes everything to fix on your dream baby?
Oh gosh, I feel like this is a trick question. I would just go to where it says I fix everything.
Yeah. But the part of it is he won't even know what that car is. Because that's what runs you. So wouldn't you take it? My thing is you take to the source where you bought it where they actually know the car inside and out. So this guy's fixing lawnmowers. This guy's fixing everything. I guarantee you won't have the tools either to fix it.
I get what your point is saying, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, quick, easy. There's somebody right there. He fixes everything. Let's just go over there. Yeah.
So that's perfect though, because we live our life by convenience. So my thing is I would take it back to the source because they're going to know about what the car is about. Okay. So here's my question to you then. When something's not working in your life, why don't you go back to the source, which is within you, instead of looking outside for answers?
Yeah, most definitely. And I do have to say that something that I've been really aware of the last couple of years as I was searching for outside answers. And the last year I've really been going with, and I feel so much more aligned. And what you shared, that the peace comes, it's so true, Paul. Like I'm feeling the most at peace I have in a really long time.
Because you're in alignment, now you're getting closer to what your purpose is.
Yeah.
See, we're born with that. We're born with what we're here to do, right? And somehow when the cord gets cut and we go into our ego steps in saying, okay, I'll take over from here, God. And so what happens is we caught it's in our society, the higher education we have, the more hoarders we become. More. Now, the older we're getting, we want enlightenment. What's enlightenment? Going back to the source. What does the source say? Release everything you've gathered. So this hit me would have been about 1986. I had mom and dad with me and my nephew and niece. Mom and dad went to every Sikh temple in India. Went to this mountaintop. It took us about 8 hours to get there. I remember it's just mom and I and mom, dad, and the three of us were there on this trip. And I remember getting off the bus and I felt instantly sorry for this gentleman. I don't know why, but he was sanding marble. Right? We go on this 8-hour tour. We come back and I get on the bus and instantly I just felt this jealous of this man. And he's just sanding marble. So the bus want to leave. I said, hold on. He goes, I gotta go deal with something. So I get off the bus and I walk towards him and I'm 24 years old, full of piss and vinegar, just was doing martial arts and stuff. And I walk over to him and he goes, I saw you this morning. I go, really? I was trying to be coy. And he says, oh. I says, this morning, I felt very sorry for you. I don't know why, but right now I'm very jealous of you. You're so much at peace. And he goes, nice watch. He goes, every hour you're chasing the dollar. And he goes, in 100 years from now, who's going to have your houses? I go, I don't know, my kids. He goes, okay, 200 years. I go, I don't know. He goes, see, when we're born, we have no hair, no clothes, no teeth. When we leave, we'll have no hair, no clothes, no teeth. Everything else in the middle, we rent. That had such a profound impact on me. I haven't worn a watch since 84. So the whole idea was to being in service is what gave him peace. And that's what you're doing. You're being in service. See, that's part of the secret behind all our purposes is about being in service. And more you realize that, it fits like a nice, warm, cozy sweater.
Would you say, Paul, to people who are caught up in their busyness, we're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm sure people are listening and they get it and they understand it. Yet how do you have that shift where you embody being of service versus it's just something you think you should do because it's going to get you to where you want to go?
That's where we leave the ego scene and go into the heart, right? So when we're gathering, it's also about our age, how old we are, because there's certain age, our cycle works in sevens. But the thing is, in certain ages, between 30 to 37 or so, now we're starting a family. We want to build houses, careers, it's more and more, right? And then the older we get, we're realizing, wow, there's something missing. See, I read something years ago, it was the most important things in life are free. And what's missing, in my belief in our society right now, is unconditional love for ourselves.
Yeah, agreed.
See, or that's why we're searching outside of that for answers. We're searching outside to get love in our lives. We're searching outside of us to have this fulfillment. It's impossible. The faces keep changing, right? But you're taking you with you. Unless you can start looking at that, I'm enough, that I love myself, and watch how the business grows. Because sometimes my next deal is going to make me this, right? How often you said, when I make more money, I'll be happier. And I look at that, I'm making probably 1,000 times more when I used to say that. Am I 1,000 times happier? Hell not. Once I released the attachment, see, because in our conscious mind, it's about working harder. I remember when I was getting married, there's a huge uproar in the family because my wife's Caucasian and all that stuff. And I still remember my dad saying, he goes, just make sure there's food on the table. That's my only advice. So I learned how to work hard. I worked 2 jobs when I was 14 years old. But the thing was, it wasn't fulfilling because I was trying to get that from outside of me. And once you realize that you're enough, that who I am makes the difference, that I'm worthy of all my successes, because that's ultimately what's going to put you in a higher vibration. Because that picture in your mind changes when you're lovable, more love shows up. It's simple. It's like if you want happiness, let's say if you're feeling sick, you'll attract sickness because that's the picture. If you want to be wealthy, if you think you're wealthy, you'll attract wealth. In relationships, if you feel loved, you'll attract love. But all my coaching years, a lot of people are looking for love outside of themselves. So as a child somewhere, something happens to us. And its simple point is this: if you've been around kids, so let's say a 3-year-old comes to you, Auntie Kelley, I want a cookie, right? And dinner's going to be in 10 minutes. What are you going to say to the baby? Usually, wait, the dinner's going to be in 10 minutes. But a child doesn't know 10 minutes. What could a child make up about not having the cookie? I'm not lovable. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. So now I put these glasses on. I'm not lovable. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. So that's how I see the world now. We will always make ourselves right because all that what I'm saying, I'm vibrating at this energy now because everything's vibration. And that's what.
So how do we bust up those beliefs, Paul? Because I'm sure everybody listening can relate that they're running one of those at some level, if not all of them. So how do we bust that up?
We got to start. It's from that, who I said, self-love. If you loved yourself more, there's none of that would exist. I'm not worthy is gone. So in other words, start treating. It's like I was dealing with a customer last week. Okay. And we're talking about that. and we had a meeting and she's late. Right? And she wanted to do business with me. And I said, I don't do business with people like you. And she was very offended by it. And I actually don't care. I says, you're late our meeting now. You'll have another excuse when we're late on our closing. I says, here's my thing, my dear. I want to be in service to you, let you know, because other people won't tell you that. And the more you keep your word to yourself, you'll walk 10 feet tall. We keep more word to our strangers than we do for ourselves. Why? Because nobody else is going to know. It's with us. But every time you break your word with you crumble inside a little bit. Another one happens. Well, I'll have that piece of cake later before bedtime, or I'll have whatever it is that we think that we deserve, because what's running us in that moment is, I'm not worthy. I'm not level. I don't deserve it. We're feeding that side. Or you can just say, you know what? I don't want to. For me, the prime example was when my little grandson was born. Bennett's now 8 months. He was born, and I love to have my glass of wine, love to have a few drinks. And all of a sudden, my body, my said, it's okay. I quit drinking. Right? And people says, oh, it's going to be hard. I go, no, it's not. I decide. And I didn't drink for 7.5 months. I had a drink at my buddy's son's wedding because I chose to. You're in control of you. Once you own that, there's no restrictions, there's no fighting in between you. I went to 2 weddings back in Ontario. Everybody says, oh, you should have a drink. I go, no, thanks. My brother goes, he says, no, he's not going to have one.
He knows.
Right? Yeah, he knows. So now that supports me. In our culture, the Indian culture is you ask them 15 times, they're going to 16 times, they'll say yes because they think that's more love for the person. I go, no, that's more degrading. I says, I sure don't love you more if you keep doing that. I said, I'll never come back. Right? So we teach people how we treat ourselves. As an entrepreneur, you want to attract these people in a higher vibration. So you have to build yourself to a higher vibration, how you see yourself.
I love that. And I love how you're talking about that. I'm in control. I decide, and maybe speak to this. Yet my belief would be that the more I do it, the easier it becomes. And it just becomes a part of what I get great at, which is trusting myself to make my own decisions. It's almost like a muscle, right? Like just building it.
So our journey on the physical realm here is not about working harder, it's about working higher. Because we've been so ingrained on working harder. The working higher is going deeper into your subconscious mind, working with your spiritual side. Because even if my whole goal is to be more contact with me, work with my spiritual side, there's no other goal because everything else will be filled. So sometimes you'll get these little downloads. I remember I was doing something and I was dealing with a client and this thing came. I didn't say it to the customer. I didn't say it to the client. A little voice said, oh, I thought you trusted me. Because in that moment, because this client was going to be a big bill with them. And so in that moment, I want to be liked by them. So I jeopardized my integrity. Guess what? I lost the client. Because that wasn't my truth.
Yeah. Could you speak to that, Paul? Because that was actually something I wanted to ask, especially as an entrepreneur. We're in decision-making mode all day long. And of course, we're working towards our goals and the things we want. How do we decipher between our logic and our intuition and trusting that voice?
Always do what's best for them. That'll change everything. The intuitive side, my goal, I will never do a deal unless it's going to be. In other words, they have to think they got a great deal. I think we're a great deal. We both would. And here's the thing, as an entrepreneur, our whole job is to make money for that person. Okay. If you make money for that person, they'll tell everybody. If you lose their money, they'll tell more people.
Yeah. So it comes back to being of service though, right? You can never go wrong when your mindset's and you're doing things for the right reason.
If you do stuff for what's best for them, I don't know anybody that doesn't want that. I'd rather lose $5 and give it to them and they'll come back, spend 100.
Yeah. So true. Do you have an example, Paul, like in your business life where you had the opportunity to really lean in and trust your intuition and it was a breakthrough either in your life or business?
I have a bunch of examples come up, but my biggest one is my example is I always want to make sure the kids get a lesson from it. So we were selling our house. Mom and dad got ill, so I was going to sell our house, and we lived in Langley, and then I moved to North Delta. And we took the house on the market. This gentleman came and he says he made an offer for the house, and that was what we wanted for originally. So we have a handshake, right? So so I'm having a meeting, and next week, another real estate agent comes, gives me $50,000 more than what the first offer was. Right. So now I have a dilemma in my head. I don't have a dilemma. It's in my mind now. What do I do? So we have a family meeting. When something happens in the household, we want to do something. I always have a family meeting so the kids are informed what's going on. So I told them, this is what's happened. Now we have a $50,000 more offer. And my daughter goes, Dad, $50,000. You know how much horse stuff I can buy? She would have been about 10, I think, 10 or 12. And my son goes, Dad, which one's in writing? I said, the second one. He goes, okay, that's the one we take. I said, okay, I'll let you know in the morning. So the next morning, Sundays, we make pancakes. We're having a conversation. And then he says, which one? Dad, what do you guys decide on? I said, we're going to do the handshake. But why? I says, because that's more important than any paper it's written on. I says, for us to take 50,000 more, it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands later, because we're not in integrity with ourselves. And it's interesting. My son remembered, he goes, Dad, that's why we paid Grandpa's bills when he passed away. I says, yes. We didn't have to pay for his credit cards, but we paid him. See, when you're in integrity with you, it'll put you in such a different vibration. You don't attract these other people that are kicking the door or kicking the tires. You'll attract the people that want to do business with you, because that's who you are.
Yeah, I like that. And what comes to mind with your story too, I'm thinking it's clean energy. So if I'm wanting to learn how to trust my intuition, if I don't have all that toxic energy, for lack of better words, or all of that second guessing, or I've done things out of integrity when no one's watching, that's going to be clutter. If that clutter isn't there, it's going to be easier for me to trust my intuition, because I can hear it louder, see it louder, feel it louder. I'm more in alignment with it. Would that be what you would share, or that's what's coming to mind for me?
Absolutely. Because that clutter is going to actually lower your vibration, because you're not in integrity with what you're talking. Because I don't know about you, but I can tell a mile away when people are lying. See, because if I don't lie, then I have a different vibration, because then it's out when somebody's lying to you. Especially kids are so clean. And that's the key part of this is, I have a rule with my kids. And when we were younger, the rule was, don't listen to anything Dad says. Right? Only do what Dad does. It's so simple for me, because if I'm cutting a corner, am I going to be okay with my kids doing it? Because life is simple, because I don't have their answers, because that's their life. They need to figure that out. I can't tell them. If I give my kids an answer, I'm putting limitations on them.
Yeah. Can you speak to that? Because I think as a parent, you share that, yet I'm not a parent. I would imagine that's easier said than done. What's the value of allowing your kids to figure things out for themselves?
Oh, remember we were talking earlier, but we were taught how to make decisions. That's them making decisions. Okay. So I'll do my little munchkin there, Nora. She's 4 now. So we go for walks pretty often. Right. And now she decides which way we go. We've gone for an hour. We've got 100 yards, and that's it. She goes this path. She goes this way and this way. She'll say hi to the rocks, and she'll say hi to the bugs, and she hi to the trees. And I remember sitting there. I pulled over with her, and I sat on the rock with her. I said, honey, and she's looking at me. She goes, yes, Papa. I says, we are so blessed today. And she's looked at me. She goes, you know what? Nobody else is going to say hi to those rocks and say hi to those trees and say hi to the grass today if you didn't come by this way. And she goes, yes, and I am so proud, because now she's walking 10 feet tall, because now she's responsible for her decisions. The more we can do that, be responsible for our actions and our thoughts, watch how everything starts snowballing. Because once we start making the little decisions, and that, because that's a muscle, right? Decision-making muscle gets stronger and stronger. Like my mentor said, make decisions quickly and change them slowly, because make them quickly, they come from a higher place than more than when you think about it.
Yeah, I like that. And you had shared too that your decisions, how you can start to trust it, is it's attached to your feelings. I don't think you meant emotions. Did you? Or do you meant feelings?
No,
Can you
because,
just explain the difference?
so what's the difference between emotions and feelings for you?
That's a good question. Emotions, I think
What variance?
they're heightened. They're reactionary.
So emotions are a physical, automatic, and neurological response to a stimulus.
Okay.
Okay. So emotions are more physical. Feelings are mental interpretations of them. So so emotions also engage our fight or flight in those. But feelings, that's what I said. If you're feeling wealthy, you'll attract wealth. You're feeling sick, you'll attract sickness. If you're feeling unhappy, you'll attract unhappiness. If you're feeling worthy, you'll attract worthiness. Right? Because that's the only way it works. That's the law. One of my mentors, Neville Goddard, he always says, to seek outside of that you don't feel, is to seek in vain. For we never find that what we want, we only find that which we are. Okay. So searching outside of you never works.
Yeah.
Right? To realize your desires, you must feel as you have already achieved them. Changing your feeling means changing your destiny. Okay. That's why it's so important. That's why we work with in the program, is to actually start working on the meditation, working on the visualization to feel, let's say your goal is like you said, your black car. Okay. And how would you feel when you drive it? How would you feel when you're sitting in it? How would you smell? What's the smells? What's the flavors in the car? And then the emotions, now you actually walk around with those emotions that it's already there. And watch, see, when you're asking for something, or if you already have it, there's a difference of feelings. Okay. When you already have it, there's an inner peace with it. And there's a knowingness it's yours. And that's the difference.
And does this come from the Silva method? And maybe talk about that, Paul. Like because I know you're super passionate about it. You coach it, you teach it, you live it. What is the Silva method, and why are you so passionate about teaching it?
When we're talking about entrepreneur stuff, we talk about decision making. And one of the main when people come to work with Silva method, it's about getting better at developing their intuition. If their intuition's it works at a higher level, they will make better decisions. And also, if your intuitions are a higher level, you'll have understanding of other people different. Because it's the old saying, for me to learn more about you, I have to discover me. And also, when you're at this higher level, your purpose of life rises to the top. What are we always searching for? Some people don't know their purpose till they're 10 feet under. They don't even know that. So they're running the current.
What would you say?
Because,
go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, because as you're speaking, like I agree, and yet I'm just sitting here thinking from a practical perspective, how does somebody start to step into that level of understanding? If we're talking entrepreneurs and they're maybe in confusion, or they've been in overwhelm and they haven't been in alignment, like what are some steps that they could start to do to bring it back to source?
Just sit down every night and just ask yourself, what do I want? And because the more there's a place we get to, okay. So mind science research has said, doesn't matter what you want, relationships, money, career, whatever it is, it's done through alpha, theta brainwaves. We get to that place usually when we're sleeping. Okay. What I teach people, how you can actually stay awake in those states. If you're awake now, because that's also into your subconscious mind, because now there's no time, there's no space, it's perfection. The more you can do that, the stronger that muscle gets. So we go around, we have this backpack on us. That's all our what ifs, all the challenges, all the obstacles, all the crap that's happened to me. I carry this with me. But I want this new life. I want to be successful. I want to be this. So we have to release some of this because we're already full to put something bigger and better in. And a lot of this, any challenges that you're having, they're actually illusions of what happened to us when we were younger. And that still allows to serve us.
Can you share more about what you mean by that?
It's as a child, I was molested. Okay. And when I was about 8 years old, and I remember going through this, and in my late 30s, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was at a class I was taking. And what I meant by was that in that I made up all about that I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, something's wrong with me. Okay. And when it hit me, like a ton of weight went off me when I realized the event was the event I didn't have a choice in. Okay. But now I've allowed this person to rent space in my head for 30 some odd years. That's my choice. Once I realized that I can let it go, it was like, holy smokes,
Wow.
what's possible? And each one of us, we've had our challenges. We've had our obstacles. I know people gone without food. People have been abused. People have been hit mentally, physically, whatever it is. That's your story. Okay. But that's not you. Story is not you. Story is an illusion that was made.
Wow. Thank you.
Story was where it happened. That's why I worked on myself for so long that I'm realizing I don't want people to wait 30, 40 years to get this. I can give it to them in 6 months.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend $300.5 million doing it either.
Wow. Paul, that's so impactful.
Yeah.
Thanks for being open to sharing that. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I love how you said the story is not you, right? Like your story is not you. It's just an illusion. And we get to decide who we are.
But here's the thing. I wore this as a badge of honor because, I'm this. We have a tendency to label things in our society. Here's my opinion on it. Once we label something, we're screwed. Because we can't get out of that label we put on it.
Yeah. Like giving ourselves an identity that we hang on to.
Prime example was when Ryan was my son was grade 7. He was going to go to India for 3 months. So I wanted to meet the teacher, and the teacher says, we started talking. He says, first day class, I introduced myself, and he says, I heard you're a pretty good teacher. He goes, I can tell you today what the kids will mark at the end of the year. I go, wow, I knew you were good, but I didn't know you were Houdini. He goes, what do you mean? I says, you're pigeonhole every child to what you think their potential is, not what the child's potential is. Anyways, we didn't hit it off the right foot.
I can imagine.
That was the third.
Oh, go on.
And he says, any child misses 90 days in my class will fail. I can bet you any amount of money my son will not fail unless you sabotage it. And it ended up that the next day the principal called me in, a little bit quick version here. And I said, what's going on? And he says, can you come to school tomorrow? I go, am I getting a detention? And I walked in school, all the teachers are there, and he goes, go across the hall. I go, what's that? He goes, in grade 4s, go talk to him for an hour. That was my punishment, talk to kids. And I says, what a blessing.
What a blessing.
And the principal and I were friends, so I knew it was going to all work out. But the biggest part was how we allow our parents how we let our past influence our future. And that's our choice.
Yeah, so powerful.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul, for sharing that. As you're speaking, I love how my experience of you, and the reason why I know all of my friends love you so much, and myself included, when we first met all those years ago, is that you, more than anybody I know, speak your mind in the way of being of service to the person you're sitting across, even if it's uncomfortable. And that was you trusting your intuition that if something comes up for you to say, you say it. And I don't think most people do that. And you impact so many people's lives because of that. So I just want to thank you. Like, you have a ripple effect of impacting people's lives for the better because you have the courage to say what comes to you in a way of being of service.
Yeah. And it wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
I used to run about being liked and what other people are going to think. And I don't want to feel the pain again. And I realized the more I talk about it, the freer I get.
But it's on.
Because it doesn't See, you could have the event or the event can have you. If I stand in my power, it's just an event. So I can just let it's just an event from the past that has no energy to it. But when we start feeding it, there's an old saying, Native Indian saying this is there's two wolves within us. The one you feed will shine. So if I'm feeding, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I don't deserve it, all that. So all of a sudden that grows within me. Or I can go, I'm worthy, I'm lovable. That's the event. I make decisions, I make choices, and that grows in me. As an entrepreneur, what are you feeding? Which side are you feeding? Or you want to create that balance at home, right? Because usually if you look at the balance of on just even mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical, usually one or two sides are stronger than the other. Because I know when we had our shop, we had 50 staff and 6 stores, and money wasn't an issue. We were making good money. But I didn't know my kids. My wake-up call came when I had to pick up my daughter, and she was about 4, and I was late. And she says to me, Daddy, don't you love me enough to be on time? And I was like, and I says, honey, I had a staff meeting and I was going to buy you a new toy. See, so how do I justify it? Buying her something. That's how I show love, because that's what my parents did. Go, Daddy, I don't want the toy. And that's when it hit me that I want to be role model for my kids by keeping my word to me.
Yeah.
And that our little nature teaches us everything if we're open to hearing it.
Absolutely. And how cool to share the lesson that you can learn from your kids too, not just the other way around. Right? Like, every day. Paul, we've just got to start wrapping up. Even though I could sit here and talk to you forever, I miss you so much and just appreciate you being here. I have a few last questions and I want to just know about you and what you got on the go. Yet, is there anything that you want to share before I ask a few questions when it comes to the power of trusting yourself?
I think at the end of the day, you're living your life for you. Be the greatest version of you that you can be. Because see, every time you do that, you step forward. Now there's a wake left behind you. There's rippling effects happen and people step into it. People will always follow you. Doesn't matter how old you are. There's always people following you. I tell my granddaughter the same thing. I said, honey, when you do a good thing or you do something that's not you make different choices, there's still a wake left. And I said, even this morning, I had my old grandson, Nora, came in, and Benny, he's 8 months, I grabbed his hair. She goes, oh, it's okay, Papa. He's not hurting me. I said, yeah, it's okay, babe. But also you realize that I want you to still stand up in your strength, that it's not a right thing to do for him to do. And she goes, Benny, here, have this instead. Right? Realizing even at 4 years old, she can stand in her strength that she doesn't want him to do that. See, in the moment there, she wanted to be liked by him, so it's okay for him to hurt her. I want her, it's not okay for anybody to hurt her. And that's the part that each one of us look at is, where were those people when we were growing up? We didn't have that person take a stand for us. For me anyways, right? And I look at, because we're busy surviving, we're busy working, we're doing whatever we're doing. And that's why going within to find the answers, to going within to find that strength, that number one gift every entrepreneur should have is to go within and to trust that inner voice. You'll get bigger deals, you'll make more money, you'll serve more people. Because if you're not serving others, nobody's going to open up their wallet to give you nothing.
Oh my gosh, Paul. Mic drop. It's like mic drop. That's perfect note to end on. Thank you so much. Okay. 3 just quick questions. I would love to hear your answer. What would you say would be your version of success today, Paul?
My grandkids.
Love it. I can tell how much you just adore them. Yeah, how much you adore them.
And helping people to find their purpose.
I love it.
That's what I said all the time. Helping others reach their goals and live their dreams is such a powerful thing for me, because it allows me that I'm on purpose. And
you do live it.
For a granddaughter, she asked me yesterday, she goes, Papa, why do you always help so many people? I said, honey, because we can.
I love that, Paul. What would you say to somebody would be 3 tips that you can support them with in unleashing their inner greatness?
3 tips. Just trust that inner voice of yours. But sometimes we don't do that enough. But anyway, just to sit down every day, ask yourself, what do you want? And then even write it down. And when you're walking around, it'll show up somewhere with somebody be talking. All of a sudden, a little clue will fall in and act on it. Because the source will drop little nuggets. But not if we're just go and we're about me, you won't hear it. Because that me makes a lot of clutter, makes a lot of noise. And all the gifts falls through.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, Paul, last question. Where can people find you? So for the listeners who are on here and they're getting wisdom from what you're sharing, which there's so much nuggets that you talked about today. Thank you so much. Where can they find you and what do you have happening next that they could plug into?
I've got my 2-day Silva class coming up actually this weekend, 19th and 20th, and also December 7th and 8th. The best way to go to, I actually written a program. It's called Peace of Mind 101.com. They can go there and you get a free, what's the word? The free little, they'll get a free little program, little outline of it to help you to how to create peace of mind for yourself.
Oh, that's awesome.
And also, if you want to drop me an email, I will send you an 8-minute meditation for abundance, and it's free. But go to peaceofmind101.com and just send me an email from there, and I'll send it.
That's
to you.
awesome, Paul. And Paul, we'll put all this information in my show notes so that they have your email. I'll put that peaceofmind101.com in there too, so that people can get a hold of you. And then this will actually air at the end of October, so that one might get missed. Yet for all the listeners, plug into Paul's next class, December, was it 6th and 7th, Paul? December 7th and 8th. Reach out to Paul. He will support you. Paul, you've been such an influence in my life and my journey and my leadership. And I'm just so grateful to be on here and have you as a guest on my episode. I value you and cherish you so much, and I respect you, and just thank you for being my friend. Appreciate you.
Oh, feelings mutual, my dear. I just got goosebumps. But also every Thursday on Zoom, I do an hour, people that will get to the right side of their brain. Okay, I do a free meditation session with them. So every Thursday, they can go to Meetup and then look up Silva Ultra Mind. It's in there, and then they can register.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Great. Well, I love to see people there. And Kelley, you know what? I just want to thank you for thinking of me, because you crossed my mind a couple of times. Usually I just drop you a number or a call, and you reached out the same day, it's always interesting how that pans out.
It's on purpose. It's trusting my intuition, Paul, trusting my intuition that I was thinking about you. And so just thank you. Appreciate you and excited for people to get to learn from you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, my dear. There's always a bigger plan. It's not ours.
Agreed.
Hi, I'm Tanya, and this is Julie, and we are the founders of Coach Core, your all-in-one solution for building and scaling a successful coaching business.
At Coach Core, we provide you with everything you need in one place. You can house your courses, manage memberships, run email campaigns, and create stunning websites and funnels, all with our easy-to-use platform.
And it's not just about the software. We offer built-in coaching and mentorship, helping you implement best practices from certified NLP practitioners and story brand coaches. And that's just scratching the surface of what's inside.
And that's why we're excited to sponsor the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast with Kelley Beveridge. Kelley is a thought leader who inspires and elevates entrepreneurs worldwide.
We believe in the power of community and continuous learning, and this podcast is a fantastic resource for any coach looking to truly grow their practice.
So join us on this journey. Tune into the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast for insights and inspiration, and visit Coach Core to transform your coaching business today.
Coach Core, your path to coaching success.